How do you defeat a Kraken level whale with 1.8 billion power in Kingshot when your other whales are all in the hundreds of millions of powers? Well, it is extremely challenging, but it is very doable and requires a lot of strategy and coordination. So in today's video, I'm going to use our last KvK in which our opponent didn't really show up. So we used that time to practice. And I'll show you exactly all the tips and tricks for Castle Battle and KvK in Kingshot and how to really achieve some results even when you are underpowered compared to the enemy. So how does KvK work and how does Castle Battle work? Well, you have one castle and 4 towers around it. Now, if you capture a tower, you get lethality bonus for everybody in your side. So that means that if you have all 4 towers, you're going to have plus 20% lethality on your rallies attacking the middle. So it is very important to capture the tower. It gives a huge boost and 20% is nothing to laugh at. Now, if you won prep phase of KvK, you are going to be invading the enemy kingdom. If you didn't win the prep phase, you're going to get invaded and you're going to defend your castle. However, the fight itself still stays pretty much the same because it's neutral territory, so there is no clear advantage, but being invaded is obviously less fun than invading and is a lot worse if you lose because then you don't have a king for a month and you have to share buffs with the other kingdom, or you might not even get any buffs at all if they don't decide to give them to you. Now, how do you defeat a Kraken who's holding down the middle? This is going to be by doing multiple rallies at the same time. Double rally, triple rally, quadruple rally, doesn't matter. The important part is they have to hit the exact same second, because otherwise the enemy will be sending reinforcement troops forever and ever, which means that even if you have 1 second between 2 rallies, they have time to fill up the rally fully, negating the damage of the first rally. So to illustrate my point, you will see here that we had 3 of our whales rally true in a different alliance to showcase this. Now, True has 1.274 million troops defending the castle. Now we're using one of our whales here to attack with almost 2 million. You'll see that he causes 50,971 injuries. So those are wounded enemies, and also lightly injured 102,000. So you'll see that he went from 1.274 to 1.117. Now the attack whale obviously got wiped. I mean, True is exceptionally powerful. Everything's T5, T6, max everything. All the gear is fully maxed. There is nothing better that he can get currently almost, except maybe a few levels here. So, True is insanely powerful, even though this whale is still very, very powerful, but not enough to take him down. However, you'll see that 1.117 troops left. So that means that he lost 6,000 troops. Now, looking at the next rally, you can see here Xander, who also is extremely powerful, as you will see from his gear, even more powerful than the previous whale. And his attack starts with 1.174 troops. However, you notice that True now has 1.117, which, as you remember from the last rally, he had 1.200 something thousand at the beginning. So this means that he hasn't healed from the first rally. Now you can see Xander has caused way more damage because there's a bit less troops and Xander's a bit more powerful. So 200,000, but lightly injured is almost 400,000. So what do you notice is that the bottom here, True has 521,000 troops left. Now, the big important part here is that you want this to all happen at the same time. So you see the timing here, 6:22:39, and the previous one, 6:22:39. Now the next one, 6:22:40. So basically 1 second later. However, in this case, it was like a few milliseconds later, because you will see that the squad of True is at 521,000. Now, TBPO, some of you will recognize her from my previous videos, one of the strongest whales in the game as well currently for my server and the surrounding servers, of course. Also extremely powerful, as you can see, pretty much on the same level as Xander, or maybe a little bit higher, but in any case, you can see that she is very, very powerful. And because her rally started at 1,224, but against 521,000 troops. So True had not recovered from the previous 2 rallies, which means that TBPO won the rally, and you can see that she survived with 800,000 troops. Now, this is exactly to illustrate that if you hit all the rallies at the same time, and you would say your strongest players could be at the first rally, or they could be at the end because you want the weaker whales to kind of like diminish the force, so that you can see the whales like Xander and this TBPO rally really hit against much more good odds for them. And this really caused a way of beating True. Now, of course, True will rally back, and True will not need double rallies. True will win 1 versus 1 against any of these people. However, when that happens, you can also just again have other wells launch another triple or double rally ready so that as soon as True conquers it, instantly the enemies get it back. So you would need like a third alliance. So you can see that all of the people that were rallying here were in KvK alliance against LGD alliance. You could have a third alliance, and that third alliance could have wells because you can rally each other even if you're the same kingdom. So as soon as True launches a rally, while literally 2 seconds later, 3 wells on a third alliance launch a rally at the same time. So that means that when True's rally arrives and attacks the middle, 2 seconds later, 3 rallies from another alliance arrives and attack him. Now, he hasn't had time to reinforce or change his heroes, which means he will most likely go down again. So, of course, this is going to be very complicated when you have multiple billion power wells like we have in surrounding servers. There is going to be a lot of strategy, but if you can execute, the enemy can execute it too, but then whoever executes it better will end up winning, and it will be a close fight. So this is one way to beat a Kraken. Now, it requires usually Discord, voice chat, preparation, a lot of that kind of stuff. But that's the fun of this game. This is where the strategy comes into play. Now, how do you do timed rallies properly? Well, here, if you launch a rally, you'll see that you have 5, 15, 30, 60 minutes. Now, 5 minutes is usually going to be chosen. You hold the rally, you choose your best marches, whatever. Now, you will see at the bottom that there is a 42 seconds here. So this 42 seconds is how long my march will take. So 5 minutes of rallying time plus 42 seconds of walking to the trajectory. So this means that if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 whales all rallying at the same time, they will need to make it so that their 5 minutes plus their march time equals the same thing. So if you have one person at 42 seconds and then your next whale is at 56 seconds, well, this whale is going to have to launch 9 seconds earlier. Now, a good way of doing that is if you click this little button up here, it shows you the UTC time live. So let's say well number 1 needs 9 seconds before the other one, and then the other one needs 2 seconds, and then the other one launches at the exact time. So let's say that at 15:51, the first well is going to launch. At 15:58, the second well is going to launch. And then at 16, the third well is going to launch, which means that if they all have calculated properly, they will all arrive at the exact same time. So the well is going to be in this screen looking. They're going to be given a time at which to launch by some officer or by between themselves. You can calculate. I need 5 minutes plus 112, and then the other one does his timing and his timing. Everybody shares, and then you calculate. And then when the second that you are supposed to launch your rally or the well is, then they click deploy. And then it's very easy with this button to do that. Otherwise, I mean, you can look here and then do it very quickly. But I mean, this is a lot more accurate. And then you will then look at the screen of the rallies, which you can see on the screen right now. And this will show you that all the rallies are kind of launching differently. But then when all of the rallies are marching towards the castle, you will see that they all have the exact same time. This is how you know you're successfully doing it properly. Another important thing is going to be, of course, heroes. Attacking heroes that are going to be rally heroes, which have rally effective widget, and defending heroes who have defensive widgets, which I've gone over a full video on widgets to explain exactly how it works. But it's pretty straightforward in the sense that you want a hero with a rally widget. So you'll see that, for example, Amadeus, his widget says increasing rally squad attack. This is what you want. Marlin and Petra do the same thing. There are many more who do the same thing. However, if you look at Hild, for example, and you look at her widget, it says defender squad. So she is going to be a defender's hero. So the heroes you rally with and the heroes you defend with are not usually the same. And we can look here and see, this is another battle report that I had, and you can see TVPO and True. They are going to be using different ones here. So Amadeus, Petra, Marlin, 3 heroes with a offensive widget. All of their widgets are offensive versus Eric, Hild, and Jaeger, who are all defensive. Defender squad. Here you get defender squad. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but that is how it works. Now, another thing you're going to notice is going to be the troop comparison here, and it is the troop ratio. So when you are attacking, usually cavalries are less effective. You want a lot of infantry to tank the damage and a lot of archers to do a lot of damage. Now, when you're defending, you want a lot of infantry and a little bit of the other things. Usually you want even more infantry than a good amount of cav and almost no archers whatsoever. Now, there is very complex math behind how this game works and why that is such a thing. However, in general, it seems to be the strategy, at least until where I am currently in G3, almost G4. And this is going to be the troop ratio you see down here in one of these screens. And then you can click at balance. So in our case, we're doing like this 48, 4, 48. And then I think when you're defending, you're doing something like 60, I think 30 and like 10 or something. And this is the usual stuff. Now it will change, different heroes change this. But in general, there is going to be this consensus of infantry. You always use a lot of them, but there is more cav on defense and more archers on offense. Now, this is going to be important. Listen to R4, R5, the leaders of your alliance. They will tell you what ratio to use. If you are joining, what you must know is that you must preset this ratio, however they tell you, and then confirm it. And then let's say this is my joining march, and you know this one has more archers, whatever. I'm going to remove cavs, put infantry. Let's say this is my ratio. Save this ratio. Make it a saved here. And this is going to be who you join with. Now, again, who you join with is also going to be very important because this is going to matter in terms of how many of the heroes that you're using are good. So you have heroes like Chenko, you have heroes like Amane, you have Yonwoo, and you have Hild. But there are also other heroes here that matter. So like in any rally, this is the same for Bear, and it is a very important mechanic to understand. The first person who launches the rally, so in my case, me right now, will bring all of his hero skills. So this is 9 hero skills. This is all the right side skills when you look at the character screen, and all of them are brought with me, as well as the hero gear skill. So this is all the widget skills. Now, the rally members who join, you can see that I have 4 different skills here from 4 different people. So the rule is the first 4 joiners who have a level 5 skill. Now, if someone has a level 4 skill and the 5th joiner has a level 5 skill, it will take the 4 first level 5 skills. So one person could be ignored if you have a level 4 skill. But usually in this case, in this game, especially after a few months of playing, the first 4 joiners are going to be counted. Chenko, Amane, Chenko, and Helga. These are all people who are in my rally, and I'm getting all of their skills. Now, you want these 4 skills to be what you want. So there are many strategies, and usually having 4 of the same skill is not really as good as having a mix. So the 25 vitality is great, but having it twice, as opposed to having one with attack or having one with other effects, is less good. But it's still important that you want 4 skills that are determined by your R4s. There's strategies, again, many heroes. It will change over the time of your gameplay. There are going to be better heroes at times. So you can see here in a rally with TBPO. Now, the first joiner was me. I was having Hild. The second joiner here had Fad. The third joiner had Amane. And then the fourth joiner had Amadeus, which is the same as Yonwoo or Chenko, which is 25% lethality. So as you can see, not one of our skills repeated. And there are many strategies, as I said, and the reason is that when you use these skills, like, they are going to be better by being different because there is a diminishing return using the same thing over and over. So in the case of Hild, because this is PvP, there is going to be 15% attack, but also 10% defense. So you're giving 25% stats, which is really good. In Bear, not very good because you're having 15% attack versus another hero who gives 25%. But in PvP, the defensive stats still work in your favor. So that's why we have Hild with her attack and defense. Then we have Amane, who has 25% attack. Then we had Chenko, or I guess Amadeus, or whoever you want to use that has 25% lethality. And then the last one was Fad, because in PvP, Fad has a skill that is going to work. Now, having more than one Fad is wasted, but having one Fad means that he is going to reduce the enemy damage dealt, which is very good for PvP. Now, again, as I said, there's going to be more and more heroes released. There's going to be different skills used. There's going to be a lot of different strategies. Petra is also one that has a very interesting here, damage taken up to 50%, but it is a bit RNG. So there is a lot of stuff you can do here in PvP and Castle Battle especially. But what is important is that you have the 4 right joiners in the right order. The rally leader or the garrison leader can kick people out if they don't have the right heroes to make sure that the right ones have it. If you're garrisoning a tower, you can promote to captain whoever you want to have the first spots as skill. So the person will promote to captain the 4 people with the right heroes and the right skill. And then you'll promote the person you want to be captain. So the 4 first joiners are going to be the 4 people with the right skills afterwards. So there's a lot of strategy involved, but having the right skill as the joiner is very important and makes a huge difference. Now, there's of course more strategy regarding Kingshot KvK and Castle Battle. You want to have people in different alliances. You want to capture all the towers. You can have little groups of people who have been tasked to defend or capture towers, and there's going to be different levels of wealth, taking it back from each other over and over. There is one more strategy to understand too. It is the garrisoning strategy. So when you do castle battle, you can only have one active march at a time per objective. So let's say you have 4 towers and 1 castle. You can only do something related to one. If you join a rally, you can't do anything else. If you're garrisoning a tower, you can't join any other rally or any other tower or the castle. If you're garrisoning the castle, you can't join any of the tower. However, one thing you can do is if you are garrisoning the castle or a tower, you can send as many marches to refill the reinforcement of that tower as you want. So this means that when you are looking at who's rallying you, and of course it's going to look like different than this. This is obviously going to be a rally against beast, but you'll see marching 25 seconds, marching 1 minute. You are going to try and garrison and dispatch troops here, and you'll see your timer. Now mine is at 1 minute 33. But this means that when you see the marches coming, you try and send reinforcement. And then you can see that 2 rallies are coming at almost the same time, 8 seconds, 9 seconds. You can then go into your march and, speed it up. Or you can also send more and more dispatch. You can see like that. Of course, you try and send the right heroes, try and send the right troop ratios. You can preset all of these things. But you can see that I could send as many marches here as I want, which means that they'll all arrive at different timing. Now, when they are currently launched, you can look at what's coming for you, 20 seconds, 20 seconds. Now, if you are able to arrive between 16 and 16 here, like it's 1 second apart, if you're able to speed up and arrive exactly between those two, this means that the first rally will hit, your reinforcements will come right away, and then the second rally will hit, but you will have reinforced your Wells garrison, which means that the chances of them taking it down is lower. Now, this is the only thing you can do as a defender. It's a very important job, but mass reinforcing, speeding it up, and taking a note of the timings of the enemy's rally is going to be very, very important because you can really negate anything they do. However, if the enemy has done it properly, there is going to be no seconds in between any of the rallies, and this is how you're going to lose the middle no matter what. So again, it goes back to the beginning of the video when I was talking about this, but this is one of the most important job again as well, and it's really going to come down to who has the best mastery and strategy on the timings and having their wells arrive at the same time and the defenders being ready to defend at the same time. So that's about it. If you have any other tips about KvK and Castle Battle, please feel free to share in the comments below. Hopefully my next KvK is going to be against an opponent who actually shows up and we can practice this kind of stuff in real time, as well as have it where it's closer, because if there's multiple billion power wells, it's going to be having to be done on both sides, and I look forward to a fight like this in the future, hopefully. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.